I was thinking to myself the other day, what is the first thing that you should modify on your car once you get your car? So I have my manual Nissan 240SX behind me. It's a great car, it's rear wheel drive, it's a ton of fun to drive. But what's the first mod that you should do? And I was thinking about it, it's not any mod that I've done so far. I've done exhaust, I've done a little bit of suspension work to it, but the first mod that I would actually suggest anyone to do to their vehicle is none of that. What I would suggest is to change the connection between human and machine. Upgrade that connection, upgrade the feeling between you and the car. So what I'm doing today is I'm installing a short throw shifter kit on my Nissan 240. It's going to connect you with the car much better. You get to select each and every one of your gears in your manual car, and if you have a better connection, if you have a tighter throw, if you have a much better feel and engagement between each gear, that driving satisfaction that you get when you shift from first to second, from second to third, and so on, it's like nothing else. You guys are gonna love this feeling. If you guys haven't modded your car, this is the first thing that I would do to it. If you have an automatic car, unfortunately you cannot do this modification, but what I would do is sell your car and buy a manual and then do this. But no, in all honesty, this is a great modification. I have a short throw shifter on all my other cars and I love the feel of it. I'm not gonna be going too crazy with this car with modifications for now, but I wanted to do something that kept the stock look, but made it basically feel a little bit better. So I'm gonna keep the stock shifter boot, and upgrade the feel from each one of the gears. I'm gonna be making the throw shorter between each gear, I'm gonna make the travel shorter, and I'm gonna upgrade that feeling between human and machine. So jumping inside the car, we have our stock shifter right here, and if you saw from the previous video, the polyurethane bushings that we installed really changed how little the transmission moves when you drive the car. So what I'm gonna do today is upgrade the distance and the throw from each gear change. So you see how long this is? So each throw that goes from all the way there to all the way there, well, hopefully with this install, it should be reduced drastically. So the first thing that we're going to do today to get started, we're just going to unscrew the shift knob. Just grab it with two hands and start turning it counterclockwise. And once you have it off, you just slide it out. And then we need to remove the shift boot and get access to underneath here. So for this car, there's two tabs in the back and two up here that need to just be pushed up. So if you grab the outside part, lift, it'll come up like that, and the same thing for the front. And that is now out of the way. At this point, we need to remove this cover right here that's covering up the entire shifter mechanism that's found inside the transmission. To remove it, there's going to be 4 Phillips screws found on each corner that we're going to have to take out. You can use either a Phillips or a 10mm socket to get each one of these things out. I found using a 10mm socket was a little bit easier only because these things are in there pretty good. And it's kind of difficult to get it with a screwdriver. But once you take each one of the 4 out, you set them aside, and you can take out this cover from the shifter. So it just slides up. Like that. So you have the top part that we just removed, and we also need to take out this other piece. This is the dust boot. So with the transmission exposed, we need to remove this little piece here so we can actually replace the entire shifter mechanism. So there's a little zip tie found on the bottom of here. If you want, you can push it down or cut it. I'm gonna cut it because I want to replace it with a new one. But if you push it down, for now, you should be able to pull up on the boot. Now this might be a little oily, but you should be able to just pull it up. With the boot pulled up like this, there's now a little snap ring that we have to take out. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that very well, but there's like a little part of the C-clip right there. You can see that little part that's sticking out, and there's another one found on the other side of the transmission. So right over here on the opposite side of the shifter. We need to take that out. So if you can get access to it, with either 2 screwdrivers, 2 picks, or whatever, you need to take that out so the entire shifter mechanism will pop up and out. It's a little tricky to get to, but you can take it out. So right there, that's the little piece we need to remove. With that out, the shifter should be able to just pop right up and out. So we're gonna set this aside. We're not gonna need this, but we do need to get access to the internals down there. Now found on the inside of here, there's a little race that is the top of the transmission, and if you look inside of there, there's a little piece of metal that we need to take out that's locking in the bushing found inside of here, and it's holding it in place. So right on top of it, that piece of metal, the little shim, we need to take out. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get access to it with either my snap ring pliers or a screwdriver, like a flathead, but you do need to remove it. What I think I'm going to do is get a flathead or a pick, stick it in the side of the transmission here, in like that little groove, and push them out to release it and pull it up. So either slide it in this little groove right here, or this one, and pry that top little piece of metal out. And be careful when you're doing this because it might want to spring out. What's nice about this though is that once you take it out, we are not going to be reusing this. So if it comes to it, if we break it, it's not a big deal. So this piece right there, we are not going to need, because of the short shifter kit comes with a piece that's going to kind of replace this. I'll get into it in a little bit, but you'll see what I'm talking about. We're not going to need this, so you can set this aside and discard it if you like. Next up, the socket inside of here, like the little rubber bushing, we need to pull that up and out. Make sure that's out, and underneath this piece, there's a little wave washer like that. So it's like a little spring. Okay, we're going to take that out. We are going to be reusing this. So set this piece aside for now. Set this metal bushing, which is a part of our new short shifter kit, slide it inside the shifter. Throw that little little spring back inside there. And then we're going to need to install this piece again. So we're going to slide it back down in there, like that. And you can see that little spring clip, little wave thing, creates that pressure like that. So with it set, it's like that. And it gives it that tension. So the next part of the installation comes with these two pieces right here. So this is the actual short shifter assembly. And if you can tell, this is a two-piece unit. So the bottom part threads in like that, and this is installed in the transmission. However, we still need to take this piece off. So do not install both of these together. Don't put it in yet. What you first need to do is include and install this little piece right here. This is like I'm guessing this is a piece of plastic that is attached to the top part of the shifter. And this is what's actually securing this piece in place to the transmission. It just ensures that it's not really going to move around while it's in there. So this little piece right here at the bottom gets slid into the transmission, and I'll actually move the camera to show you this. That just goes in there so you can select whichever gear you want. So you see down in there? That's where the little shifter mechanism goes into, that little circle. And this little this zip tie that we have in there, we need to take out because we're going to be putting a new one in. But that is where the shifter gets slid into. So the two sides go into there, into each one of like the little pegs, and that little piece goes into the transmission, into the shifter assembly. So at this point, the shifter is kind of in, and you should be able to feel the gears with it set up like this. Next up comes installing this little plastic piece. So there's a small race to it and a larger one. You're gonna put the small side of it facing down, and it's just gonna slide into that little part right there of the tranny, like that. Now we need to go ahead and secure this in place so this doesn't move. And to do that, you're gonna be using the included hardware that comes with this short shifter kit. So on the outside part of the shifter, there's like a little lip, and these pieces are basically going to slide right into them. And that's what's gonna secure this entire thing in place. So you have one of these on one side, you have the other one on the other side, and then you're gonna have this base plate that's gonna go over top, screw into each one of them, and secure all of this in place. So what I'm doing to install this base plate on here along with the side pieces is I first put this center piece in place as much as I could. Then at that point, I installed one side underneath, and I'm threading in one bolt. So once you have one side threaded in, you can grab another nut, grab your Allen, and do the same thing for here. You're gonna be replicating this exact same process for this side and this side so that this plate is properly secured in place. It's not going to move around when you're driving, and when you shift through the gears, it's not going to pop out. This side here is a little bit trickier only because the base plate is attached a little bit closer to the left side of this hole. So what I'm using is a little magnet to support the little piece of aluminum, and then I can go ahead and tighten up this bolt here for the inside of the transmission. And at this point, the short shifter is pretty much done. We're almost there. The shifter should look a little something like this. So each one of these bolts is now flush with the center console area. And now we can go ahead and install the weighted part for the shifter. So this just screws right on. Now what I'm going to do before I actually go ahead and fully tighten it and fully install it is I'm going to apply some blue Loctite to it so that this is not going to want to unthread when I'm driving. From vibrations or hard shifting or whatever, if you guys ever have a thread-on shifter, you guys might know that you can turn the actual shifter when you're driving. So I'm going to Loctite it in to make sure that it doesn't move at all. So looking at the shifter, the threads, I'm just going to apply a little bit of product on there. You don't need too much, the stuff goes a pretty long ways. A little dab. And then thread this entire thing on. Last but not least, to keep the transmission's shifter from shifting smoothly every time, it's not a half bad idea to apply some sort of silicone inside of there or some sort of grease so that the transmission's shifter will smoothly operate. Just gonna apply a little bit in there. And that should do the trick. We're almost done with the install. We just need to finish up by installing the dust boot for the transmission, then the transmission cover, then you have to install the 4 bolts that are holding that cover down onto the transmission. Finally, we have the trim piece and the shifter boot all in one assembly, and then screw on the shift knob. After that, the short throw shifter is complete, and you can actually row through the gears and see how much shorter of a throw we have. Now, I'm going to take the car for a spin and let you guys know what I think of it. Okay, so I've been driving the car for a couple minutes now with the new shifter in, and it feels completely different. So the reason why I absolutely love this modification is that it doesn't matter if your car is 30 years old, it doesn't matter if your car is brand new. If you install a short throw shifter in your car, the car is going to be completely transformed and gear changes are going to be night and day different. Now the reason why I'm not really pushing the car too hard right now is because if I do, the microphone probably won't pick up what I'm saying because of the polyurethane engine mounts. I installed those in a previous video, but that's regardless of the point. The short throw shifter makes a huge difference on the shifts, and it makes going from gear say 2 to 3, 3 to 4, or whatever gear that much better. The really nice thing about this too is that it doesn't matter if you have a crazy aftermarket shift knob, a nice shift boot, or a stock setup. This looks completely stock. It doesn't look like I changed anything at all when you go ahead and look in the car. But the best part about it is what happens when you shift gears. It just started to rain, so I'm gonna head home, but the game plan for a brand new car, if you ask me, the first modification that I would do is a short throw shifter. If you guys have any questions about the video or the installation for that matter, throw it down in the comment section below and I'd be more than happy to help. Again guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.